Hello and welcome back to the Living Hopecast. We are so glad you've tuned in for this.
You really are.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into a message that I think is going to fundamentally change the way you look at your own reaction.
Oh, absolutely. And probably the reactions of everyone around you, too.
It's a message called The Egypt Within, and is presented by Jeremy Payton.
That's right. It was on Sunday, February 15th, 2026, at Living Hope Community Church. And it's just this fascinating topic because it bridges, ancient history with modern neuroscience.
It really does. It gets into this whole paradox of why we can be physically free, but still feel emotionally trapped.
Still in chains.
Exactly. And before we get too deep in the weeds here, I just want to make sure you know where to find the source material for this. Jeremy uses some really, really helpful visuals. There are diagrams of the brain, optical illusions, and we're going to describe them, but honestly, seeing them is way better.
I would highly recommend watching it, especially for the Ames window demonstration. It's a total mind bender.
It really is. So let's just jump in. I want to start with this scenario Jeremy opens with because it's so relatable.
The BBQ story.
The BBQ story. So picture this. It's a beautiful summer day. You're part of a group called Rejuvenation, which is a teen ministry for kids dealing with, hurts and habits.
Right. So set the scene. It's pretty idyllic.
Totally. They're swimming, running around, firing up the grill. It's hot dogs, sausages, sunshine. The vibe is just perfect. And then suddenly, right in the middle of all this, one of the kids just gets up from the table.
And not to get more food?
No, not at all. He walks about 20 yards away, sits on these concrete steps, and just stares daggers at the group.
The death stare.
Yes, Jeremy calls it a death stare. He said it was just eerie. And of course, Jeremy, being a leader, he goes right into fix-it mode. He's looking around thinking, okay, who messed up? Who said something mean?
Which is the logical response, right? We think cause and effect. If there's a huge negative reaction, there must have been a huge negative action.
Exactly. But here's the twist. The other leaders are just shrugging. No one did anything. And when Jeremy goes over to ask the kid, hey, what happened?
The kid has no answer.
Nothing. He can't explain it.
And that silence, that inability to name the cause, that's really the pivot point for this entire deep dive.
It is.
The core insight here is that the reaction wasn't coming from the outside world. It wasn't the BBQ. The reaction was coming from an internal wound.
Right. And Jeremy introduces this framework to explain it, which he calls WLVS.
It's a roadmap, really, for how trauma kind of hardens in us. It starts with the wound.
Right, the wound.
But the wound creates an opening for a lie.
So for the kid in the BBQ, the wound might be past rejection, and the lie is something like, this happiness is a trap, or I'm not actually safe here.
Exactly. And if you start to believe that lie, you make a vow. And a vow is a survival strategy. It's a promise you make to yourself, like, I will never trust anyone again.
I'll reject them before they can reject me.
And that vow hardens into a stronghold. That's the S. The stronghold is the behavior we see on the outside, the anger, the withdrawal, the death stare.
So Jeremy wasn't facing a kid who hated hot dogs. He was facing a stronghold.
A stronghold built to protect a vow, based on a lie, rooted in a wound.
Wow. It's a whole chain reaction.
Yeah.
And to understand that wound part, he breaks trauma down into two types, which I found incredibly validating. Trauma A and trauma B.
Right. The green thumb versus black thumb idea?
Yeah. He quotes a comedian who said he killed a cactus, which means he's less nurturing than a desert.
It's funny, but it makes a really serious point. How do you kill a plant? You don't have to pour acid on it. You just have to do nothing.
Withhold water. Withhold light.
And that's trauma A. The A stands for absence.
It's the absence of the good things you needed to grow. The hugs you didn't get. The I'm proud of you that was never said.
Precisely. And Jeremy makes a statement that I think everyone listening needs to hear. He says, the nothing that happened to you matters to God.
That is so heavy because so many of us say, well, nothing bad happened, so I don't have trauma. But the nothing leaves its own mark.
It absolutely does. And then, of course, you have trauma B.
The bad stuff.
The bad stuff. He uses an analogy of an empress tree on his property they had to, cut down, drill into, and poison. Trauma B is the active destruction, the abuse, the tragedy, things that happen that never should have.
So we have wounds of absence and wounds of bad events. Then he adds another layer, wounds of perception.
And this is where the brain science gets really wild. The central point here is this. Your emotions do not respond to reality.
Okay, unpack that a little.
They respond to your belief about reality. Jeremy uses that Ames window illusion as an example. It's a rotating trapezoid, but it looks like it's swinging back and forth.
Right. And even when you know it's spinning, you can't see it that way.
Your brain forces the data to fit a pattern it recognizes, even if the pattern is wrong. So if your perception window is warped by a wound that says, everyone leaves me, then when a friend is just busy, your brain interprets it as abandonment.
And the feeling of abandonment is totally real, even if the abandonment itself isn't actually happening.
Correct. And he quotes Dr. Megan Johnson, who says, your feelings are valid, but not always factual.
That's such a vital distinction.
It is. He even points out that Jesus on the cross quotes Psalm 22, "My God, why have you abandoned me?" Theologically, God hadn't actually failed him, but in his humanity, that feeling of abandonment was overwhelmingly valid.
Which leads perfectly into the mechanics of why we snap. This was the big aha moment for me in the whole message. The science of capacity.
Yeah, he uses a framework from Dr. Bill Gillum about the thinker and the feeler. Imagine your brain has two gauges scaled 1 to 10.
The thinker is your left brain logic, math, language.
And the feeler is your right brain emotion, pictures, survival instincts.
And they have a seesaw relationship.
Yeah.
Feeler goes up, thinker goes down.
Right. And the snake analogy demonstrates this perfectly.
Okay, walk us through it.
Scenario 1. You see a real rattlesnake. Boom. Both gauges hit a 10. Feeler screams, danger. Thinker agrees, yep, venomous reptile. You jump back. Healthy response.
But then, scenario 2, the rubber snake.
Right. You jump back at first, but then your thinker kicks in. Wait. Plastic shine, no rattles, it's a toy. Your thinker drops to a 0. I am safe.
But the feeler doesn't.
No, and that's the biological reality we always forget. Adrenaline takes time to burn off. So your logic says you're safe, but your hands are still shaking. Your feeler is maybe hovering at a 5.
And this is where the trouble starts.
This is it. Scenario 3. While your feeler is still at a 5 from the rubber snake, a spider crawls on your arm. Now, a spider might normally be a level 3 stress for you.
But because you're starting at a 5.
You spike right up to an 8 or 9. It's called stacking. And this is the core concept of the baseline 7.
This explains the kid at the BBQ.
It explains so much. Imagine growing up in a chaotic home. Jeremy calls it growing up with a snake for a father and a spider for a mother.
Wow.
Your feeler never gets to reset to 0. You are constantly walking around at a baseline 7.
So you only have 3 notches of capacity left for daily life.
Exactly. You have almost no buffer. So when a level 4 problem hits, someone spills milk, you hit traffic. You don't just get annoyed. You hit 11. You explode.
Jeremy had that great line, they aren't bad people. They are capacity-full people.
It's such a compassionate lens. When that kid gave the death stare, it wasn't because he was evil. His capacity was just maxed out. He was using an old map for new territory.
And this brings us right to the title of the message, The Egypt Within.
It's the perfect historical case study for this. I mean, think about it. 400 years of slavery. Generations told they were property. That is severe trauma A and trauma B.
And then God shows up with these massive miracles, parts of the Red Sea. They physically walk out of Egypt.
But emotionally, they are still slaves. The second they hit the wilderness and face a little scarcity, their feeler hits a 10.
And they actually say to Moses, why did you bring us out here to kill us?
I mean, think about the logic of that. God destroys an empire just to starve them in the desert. It makes no sense to the thinker, but to a traumatized feeler, it's the only thing that makes sense. People in power abuse you.
And the most tragic part is they wanted to go back.
Yes, they wanted to go back to Egypt. That's the Egypt within. Why go back to chains? Because slavery was familiar.
They knew the rules.
They knew the rules. Freedom was terrifying because it required trust, and they had 0 capacity for trust. They preferred the predictable pain of Egypt over the unpredictable freedom of God.
That hits really close to home.
Yeah.
I think we all have our own Egypts, these familiar dysfunctions we run back to, because change is scary.
We absolutely do.
But Jeremy doesn't just leave us there in the desert. He pivots to the solution. And I love the analogy he uses about Red Robin.
It's great. He says he's not the chef. He's just the host at the restaurant.
I'm just here to find you a seat.
Right. Jesus is the chef. Jesus is the one in the kitchen who knows exactly what you need. Our job is just to get people to the table. You don't have to heal yourself. You just have to get to the chef.
And to help us do that, to help lower our baseline 7, he offers 3 practical tools. The first was spiritual authority.
Yeah, he actually stops the message to model it. He prays to bind distractions and loose peace. It's this acknowledgement that strongholds aren't just biological, they're spiritual.
Then he gives a tool called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method.
Which is a gold standard technique for anxiety. When your feeler is at a 10, grounding forces you into the now.
You list 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 things you hear.
2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. It forces your thinker to come back online. You can't focus on the texture of your chair and your impending doom at the same time.
And the last tool, which was honestly my favorite, was joy.
The Nikon Comedy Wildlife Awards.
Yes,
Yeah.
the pictures of the clumsy penguins. It sounds silly, but he makes a profound point.
He does. Trauma locks us in this tunnel vision of threat. Joy and humor force that tunnel open. Laughter literally releases dopamine. It lowers the feeler gauge.
It interrupts the stacking.
Exactly. And that's how you slowly lower that baseline 7.
So, to kind of wrap up where we've been on this deep dive,
Yeah.
we all carry wounds, trauma A or trauma B.
Yeah.
They create lies, vows, strongholds, and we end up living as capacity-full people wanting to run back to Egypt.
But the invitation is that Jesus wants to be the chef who serves you a new reality. He wants to heal those wounds so you can actually inhabit the promise, not just survive the wilderness.
It's a process, but a possible one.
It is. And as we close, I want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge. Look at your last week. When the pressure hit, what was your Egypt? What was your default reaction?
Did you lash out, shut down, run to a habit?
That reaction, that's your Egypt. And the question Jeremy leaves us with is, are you ready to stop ordering the bricks? Are you brave enough to let Jesus serve you something new?
That is a powerful question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining us on the Living Hope Cast. And again, please go watch the full message, The Egypt Within.
It's definitely worth your time.
It's available at wenatchlivinghope.com, on YouTube, Facebook, and the church app. Jesus wants to increase your capacity. Don't settle for the bricks. We'll see you on the next deep dive.